Welcome to Future Horizons, the Tempest podcast. I'm your host, Zevi Watmough. In a recent report by Engineering UK, they recorded a small but significant decline in the number of women working in engineering and technology roles, particularly in the 35 to 44 age range. Published just a few weeks ahead of INWED 2024, this report highlights the challenge of increasing the number of women in engineering. Strategic national programmes such as Team Tempest have identified diversity in engineering as a major factor in ensuring the delivery of innovative capability. Well, joining us now to discuss their experiences as engineers and their roles developing the UK's next generation of combat air system are Sarah, a degree apprentice engineer at BAE Systems, Kristy, a senior systems engineer at Leonardo, Caroline, an engineer with the UK MOD, Kat, a senior engineering manager at MBDA, and Kate, a degree apprentice from Rolls-Royce. Kate, coming to you first, every year INWED celebrates how engineering enhances the world around us and the contribution that women make to the profession, yet the data coming out of Engineering UK tells a different story. How do you think it can be addressed, this challenge of attracting more women into engineering?
I feel that from my own personal experience, it normally comes down to my early ages as a child and who I have as role models around me. For example, I wasn't super fascinated in STEM, to be fair, and I think that was down to the fact that there weren't many female role models that I was aware of, that the school advertised to me or I just knew in my own day-to-day life. And it wasn't until I found out about female astronauts that it actually got me excited about STEM and engineering again. So I think that's where the main issue lies, really, because when you're quite young, you have all these really big career aspirations of what you want to do, lots of questions you want to ask yourself, and then as soon as you go into say the secondary school years and you're introduced to all these stereotypes that have been pre-existing generations before yourself, and they have gone a bit better through as the generations have gone by, but you still had to feel like you defend your own character to some point and what interests you, and most of those say, I'm bringing up my own stereotypes now, those tomboyish activities like engineering, maths, technology, physics, they pretty much feel like they're not aimed towards you, so you start to question what your own passions are, maybe that they might fade away as well. But it's not until you see those female role models in the future positions that you do aspire to be, then it does drive yourself. So yeah, I think it impacts you the most in your youngest ages, yeah.
Sarah, from what Kate has just said, there's a cluster of challenges there, because it's not just the technical element of engineering, but also there's the question of identity. And you do a lot of work with WES, encouraging the next generation of engineers. And I believe you recently had a question from a student that revealed the view they had of engineering, which was quite different to the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was mentoring a college student, and they were interested in getting into engineering, and they were particularly looking into degree apprenticeship routes. And a question that came back to me saying was that they had no experience with mechanics, they've never fixed a car, so could they even be an engineer? Can they start with their foundations of knowledge? And I think that shed a light of how much there is a misconception of what engineering is, and people might see maybe the mechanical and technical routes, but they're just not aware of the full picture.
And Kat, there are obviously a lot of common misconceptions about engineering, and indeed the report said that a lot of mid-career female engineers make up the body of most of the women that are leaving the industry. So that says that they're perhaps not being given awareness of where they can take their career. Can you share a bit about your own story and how you managed to navigate the field of engineering to go on to have a career path you perhaps couldn't have envisaged beforehand?
Yeah, definitely. So I started on an apprentice intake at Airbus of 35 people, and only 2 of them were actually female, and that was back in 2007. So fast forward obviously into 2024, you'll realise that probably the demographic and the age group that I kind of fall into, which is that 35 to 44 age group, they obviously, there's a lot more limited people who came through the apprenticeship route back in the day, we'll say. And I think honestly that there's also a lot of other ways that people can kind of go into engineering, different paths, etc. You can come from like a business background, you can come from an operations background into engineering, and I don't think that's fully kind of, you know, out there within the wider world, within like universities, within people who are kind of looking at sort of career programs at career centres and things like that. But yeah, I did, like I said, I was 2 out of 35 female apprentices back in 2007, so I completed my engineering apprenticeship, and then I took a gap year and I went travelling for a year, went to Thailand, Australia and America, and then I came back and I was sponsored to do my aeronautical and mechanical engineering degree through Airbus, and then as soon as I finished that, I actually did the degree whilst working in a full-time job. We used to have like Thursdays off to go to like university, cram all the lectures in one day, and then obviously had to do our assignments and dissertations around that. But then I actually went off to Germany, so I went to Munich for 4 years to go and work on the A350, the fatigue test. Basically, we designed kind of engineering repairs for 3.5 times the design service goal of that aircraft, and that aircraft is successful. It's flying around now as well, which is great to see. It's a great sense of sort of pride and achievement. I was in Airbus actually for 12 years, and then I was approached to go and work on a defence programme for land systems and equipment, because obviously working in Germany as well, I spoke English and German, so I went to go and do that, and I worked on a sort of technology transfer as well, so I went to go and basically work out in Munich again, and then I've obviously got a role now at MBDA as senior engineering manager.
Have you come across other women from totally different disciplines and backgrounds who are finding that they're getting a fulfilling career in engineering right now?
Yeah, definitely. So especially like operations as well. So if you get people who kind of start on the shop floor and kind of craft apprenticeships or anything like that. Also, there's people who have kind of been working in IT as well, who have kind of, you know, gone after school down the IT route. They've also progressed into engineering as well. So I've met a few people like that. But yeah, it's a truly diverse kind of sort of discipline to work in engineering. And, you know, engineering covers so many aspects as well. You've got all of the aeronautical side, you've got the defence side, especially around Tempest, but, you know, there's other aspects of engineering too, like chemical engineering, you know, biological engineering, so yeah.
Caroline, the Team Tempest programme deals with some incredibly advanced technology. When you're going out to STEM events, how do you get the fact across that you're going to be handling advanced systems and concepts so that you can generate excitement about what that would involve?
I think to kind of go on from what Kat's just said, it's about showcasing what it actually is, you know. It's not Team Tempest, it's not all the hands-on side of engineering. There's obviously a huge amount of innovation and new technology and new concepts in the design side of the house, but kind of coming away from that side, there's also a lot of focus on the through life support, and especially from the MOD side, the regulations and airworthiness aspects, and how we kind of fine tune these for the sustainability of the programme. So it's just trying to kind of showcase all the different aspects of the programme and getting people excited, because different people are going to be interested in different sides of engineering. So it's just kind of making everyone realise what's actually available to them.
Kristy, when do you feel working on Tempest really sparked your imagination? Was there a moment before when you were perhaps a student at school, or did you really have to wait till you were in the industry to become excited about it?
Yeah, so I was always sort of interested in aeronautical kind of concepts, like planes, everything to do with aviation. So I actually wanted to become a pilot at first. So I went to university, did my aeronautical engineering, but kind of during academia, I didn't want to be a pilot or an engineer. So it really wasn't until I came into industry that I actually took a step back and went, oh, this is very different to academia. And working on actual real life problems is so much different to working in academia and doing a lot of the theory behind what we're doing. But what we're doing right now is it's real. And I don't think I've quite grasped that yet in my 3 years being at Leonardo and just in the industry, that actually what we are doing just now is real and it has impacts, and that the work that you are doing will go on to, you know, be part of this programme. So yeah, it really wasn't until I came into industry and I came onto my grad scheme that it all fell into one, and I got really excited about the technology that we are creating and, you know, what I was doing day to day.
Kat, what's some of the work that's going on behind the scenes to support female engineers at your company?
So at MBDA, they've actually launched a sort of women in engineering programme for international development. So it will see women engineers from the UK integrate with engineers at MBDA in Italy, in Spain, in Germany and in France as well on various placements. And it's also as well, it's not just engineering, we're actually going to also be working with women who are working within operations, within programme, within software space as well. So they're going to be short placements and networking events so we can expand our network as females within the defence industry at MBDA. So yeah, it's a great opportunity and yeah, it's good. Looking forward to it.
Kate, what about you? What kinds of things are going on right now to encourage female engineers?
Yeah, I can agree that similar activities are happening in Rolls-Royce as well, especially around developing platforms and networks for female engineers across future programmes and the wider business to connect with each other. Kind of creating more of an informal space so we can develop deeper connections amongst each other and find role models in the business and seek advice and talk about very important issues and problems, and we're creating lots of informal events throughout the years as well, and it's great to see that it's ramping up as well, and it's not just senior roles that are pushing for that, it's early careers as well within Team Tempest in Rolls-Royce and in Tempest Early Careers Network as well, so in the bigger Team Tempest group and as well as internal, just constantly growing those connections amongst female engineers, which is great to see.
Sarah, what kind of support's available at BAE Systems?
Yeah, so BAE Systems have female networking events that promote women in engineering, but they've also been really supportive of my role in the Women's Engineering Society Apprentice Board, where I've been given the opportunity to create guides, attend conferences, and also lead and support networking events, which have been really valuable for not only providing networks within BAE but also across industry.
Yeah, there is something also at MBDA, Zevi, which is around the software engineering piece, and it's called Code First Girls, and it's around obviously getting sort of university students who are studying the sort of creation of code, especially in the IT space at various universities around the UK, and sort of sponsoring them into a kind of professional role as well, and then having a mentor for those girls as well, because obviously we do recognise the importance of code on Team Tempest as well.
Definitely. And Kristy, are you aware of any kind of mentoring support at Leonardo? Because I guess people need that kind of development at every stage of their career. Yeah,
so at Leonardo we have our generic sort of engineering mentorship. So if you want to go through chartership, we have an actual kind of process, and so I'm working with a mentor just now. But women specific, I know that we work with the Springboard cohort. So basically you've got all these women, not just in engineering but across the company, that come together, and we do kind of sessions for a few days all about being a woman in this industry and kind of like confidence building and working on kind of honing in on those skills. So we actually have a couple of different kind of mentorship types, if you like. So there's that technical side of it where you're working on chartership if you want to, or just development, professional development in general. And then we have the kind of softer skill sides where we work on actually just women in the industry. And it's quite nice to see, you know, everyone coming together, and that's throughout the year. I think it runs pretty much like every few months. So we have a few bits and pieces up for grabs at Leonardo.
Caroline, what about the MOD? Would people be surprised at some of the elements of support that you get to encourage development?
I think so. I think it's definitely grown a lot more over the past few years. We've just got a Becoming programme, which is specifically for female engineers trying to kind of work their way up within the business. And there's also kind of lots of mentoring programmes both for females and males. And that includes reverse mentoring. So it's people higher up in the business kind of listening to those just starting their career so that everyone can kind of learn from the different people involved.
And finally, Caroline, staying with you, looking back on your experiences and thinking about the opportunities that exist now, what one bit of advice would you give to women who are aspiring to become engineers and are looking to join programmes like Team Tempest?
I think when I first started my career as an engineer, I'd kind of tried to reflect my colleagues' personalities. I'd sort of try to mirror what they were like because I thought that's what an engineer had to be rather than actually just kind of expressing my own opinions and kind of being brave enough to challenge people. But as I've spent more time working, I've never really felt discriminated against. I've never not had opportunities. So kind of through my experience, I've become more empowered and gotten rid of that classic imposter syndrome feeling, I think. I know now that I have something to offer and contribute in my own way without sort of losing my personality, trying to be what I misconceive to be that typical, probably masculine engineer. There's so many opportunities to get involved in Tempest and everyone is so key to its success. And kind of the great part is that everyone is different in their own way. So I guess my advice would be to feel empowered and as much of a cliche it is, be yourself and kind of let your personality and confidence be a strength rather than trying to hide or suppress it, trying to be what you think an engineer should be.
Yeah, because in the public arena, it's usually going to be a male engineer that you're going to encounter. Sarah, what about you? What advice do you think is important?
Yeah, I think some really important advice I've been given constantly over the last year is stop apologising. It's a topic that's really prominent at the moment, and women seem to generally have a habit of apologising routinely, and I think this can sometimes lack a bit of self-confidence, and it can sometimes undermine your authority and credibility. So just simple phrases that go in, sorry, do you have a minute? And sorry, I disagree with that. You only need to apologise if you've actually done something to apologise about, and that's not something to apologise about. It's something that I'm definitely trying to work on still, alongside with some other phrases that make you sound a bit more assertive, and avoiding phrases like I think when I know and it could, where you really want to say it is. And I think that's so important for someone starting out in engineering. Everyone's just learning and developing, and you don't need to apologise for everything that you do because you're just learning.
Totally, and I think a lot of us can identify with what you've just spoken about. Kristy, coming to you, what advice would you give?
Oh, where do I begin? If I could talk to myself 3 years ago, or even just in school, if I was primary school or secondary school, I would say just ask questions, reach out and ask. I've been asked questions about what I do, and I'm more than happy to kind of raise that visibility of what it's like to be a woman in engineer or just work in engineering in general. And I think visibility is one of the things that we're lacking a little bit. And I know that Kate was talking about getting in early, and that's kind of where the problem lies. And I think it is that visibility that I couldn't tell you what an engineer did when I was that age. And if I did, it would probably be very different to what is actually going on and what I actually do on a day-to-day basis. So I think just having the confidence to ask questions and to ask people and reach out and go, I've seen someone on LinkedIn, I'm interested in it. I want to ask that question. Or, if you're on a visit and you want to ask a question, it kind of links into what Sarah was saying as well. Like, don't be apologetic about, still wanting to learn and to ask and to know and to kind of get that visibility and insight into kind of what's going on a day-to-day basis and what an engineer actually does. And I would also say do what you're interested in. So I think we're all probably quite similar in the fact that it didn't really deter us at school, that, we might have had role models, but I certainly didn't really have a female kind of aviator or engineer that I could look up to. which, you know, might have kind of made me not go into engineering or aviation, but I knew inside myself that I was interested in that topic, and that is what I wanted to do, and that's what I was interested and good at. So I think when you're in school, you're a bit more swayed around your peers and to what everyone thinks, but as soon as you go to, you know, university, you're around people that are doing exactly what you want to do as well and what you're interested in. So I would say stick that out for as long as you can, because it will all fall into place once you're kind of out of that environment. And that environment shouldn't have that much of an impact, but unfortunately when you're younger it does. You care a little bit more about what people think and, you know, what you can see around you. You're in a very small bubble, but as soon as you can come out of that bubble, you realise that, oh, there's lots of people that are like me as well. So I would say just stick it, you know, keep doing what you're interested in, because you're interested in it for a reason. And yeah, I would say final piece of advice that actually is more relevant to kind of future me, or kind of me now, is that there's not one single person that knows exactly what they're doing. And I think that ties into, you know, all the imposter syndrome we've been talking about, that actually the more you dig deep, we're all just trying to kind of learn and get on, especially with a programme like Tempest. We've not done it before. No one's sitting there with the correct answer. And that's why I kind of now feel that I can ask more questions, because there isn't one person that knows everything. And I think you assume that when you come into a programme or you just start an industry, that everyone is an expert, but actually no one is. No one's got the right answers, so don't feel bad about not knowing things as well. So yeah, that my priority 3 of advice would be that.
You know, a clear message is coming through from what's been said so far, is that we're all quite hard on ourselves, and getting that core of confidence is very important. Kate, what do you think should be a point of focus for somebody thinking of an engineering career?
I think it's probably quite a common word of advice that we forget to remind ourselves from time and time again, but I think just to slow down and stop rushing so much and thinking ahead and planning ahead. Like what Kristy was saying, everything will fall into place, and you need to just head in the same direction that you're interested in. You know, you don't need to plan out what specific role that will be by a certain time frame. And I think I myself, I admit I'm quite guilty of doing that, you know, over planning ahead of where I think I should be and what I should be doing right now to work towards it. But most of the time, a wise man once told me, just slow down and be present in the role that you're doing, because if you have got that natural drive and you're quite keen, which I think we all are, and we can all admit to ourselves, if we are very self-motivated, those opportunities will just arise and manifest themselves, because we have got that drive and motivation. So I think it can be targeted at anyone, whether it's early careers, mid-careers, just being in the moment in your tasks, and getting the most out of it. Everything's a learning experience, and things will naturally unfold, and you will get to the position that you inspire to be at. You just don't know what direction that will be, but those opportunities will come, and you don't need to overthink about it. Just enjoy being in the moment and making the most out of your day-to-day role.
And Kat, finally to you, what advice would you like to share?
That's a really good question. I think from my point of view, and having had a few years experience within engineering, within the industry, my advice would be, to stand your ground within the meetings. So you go to a meeting, like, come prepared with your data or solutions or your documents, and don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no daft question. Like, every question is valid around a table. Don't be afraid to speak up if you disagree with something as well, or likewise, if you still agree as well, feel free to speak up. Like, you've got every right to be around that table, alongside your male counterparts as well, who are working alongside you within your department and with other departments as well. So I think it's about have that confidence as well, like, show up, like, be prepared, and you'll have a really fulfilling career within engineering.
Kat, Kristy, Katie, Sarah and Caroline, thank you very much for joining us for this INWED special.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Join us again for the next episode of Future Horizons, the Tempest podcast.